That's like the most cheese screenshot we've taken in a really long time. And like you said, it's strange that we did it for this movie.
You know what? It got to a point in the last second there where it was going to take the picture. I was like, you know what? I had a shit-eating grin in the review that Dave and I did for Hostiles the other day. So why not compliance? This is a Patreon requested midnight screenings, which top contributors over on our Patreon page, patreon.com/thecinemasnob, can request what midnight screenings review they want us to see. And so special thanks to contributor Jeffrey Prodyak Spur for the recommendation. Or at least thank you very much for the contribution.
When you sent me the text and say like, hey, we got a Patreon request for you and me to see this movie called Compliance, I looked it up, and the description on IMDb is like, young lady who works at a fast food restaurant is suspected of stealing money and is subjected to increasingly stringent methods of interrogation. I'm like, well, this person must not like me very much. This sounds really stressful. And it was not that at all. And a million times more stressful to watch.
Yeah, this movie is the, I don't know, dumb fast food version of Detroit or Jack Ketchum's The Girl Next Door.
Well, because, I was thinking about it, and I've actually heard of this movie because I was following Pat Healy on Twitter for years and years and years, because he was on a couple episodes, I think, of Doug Loves Movies, and he was on there, and so I followed him on Twitter, and everyone was all like, ooh, Compliance, he's so good, and I was like, that sounds like a movie I probably will never watch. Cut to now.
He is quite good in this.
He's really good in this.
If there's compliments I can give this movie, which of all the issues I have with this movie, and there's a lot, I can also say some nice things about it. The acting is quite good, especially him.
Yeah.
He's really good in this film. I've not heard of this movie, but I vaguely kind of remember this happening. This is a true story about this crank caller.
Crank caller. Let's call him a crank caller.
It's like, okay, let's start from there. Like, what you're about to see is the worst episode of Crank Yankers ever put on film.
I was just about to make that joke.
It's like the gritty reboot of the Jerky Boys movie. So, someone was calling these fast food joints and basically,
like, pretending to be a police officer and saying, like, we have footage of, like, the little girl behind your counter, like, sort of medium height, blonde hair, and they're like, oh, you mean Susan? And they're like, yeah, Susan.
Yeah.
We got footage of her stealing money, so we need you to take her in the back of the strip searcher. And, like, everyone was like, duh, okay, officer.
Yeah, the tagline of this movie should be, seems legit.
I buy it. And so they take Dreama something. She's the non-B one in Don't Trust the Bee in Apartment 23 with like the big headlight eyeballs and just like she's a really pretty young lady, and does a fantastic job in this movie, and she does a good job, I think, too, of portraying a kind of like, not like a dumb blonde, but just like a normal, not too bright young lady.
Sure.
Who's just a little bit too young to know what's going on in the world around her. And so they take her in the back and they like strip search her, and she's like, no, I don't want to, this is stupid. And then again, this is a movie full of like the dumbest people on the planet, except apparently these people existed in real life, who are just, some guy calls me like, hello, I'm Officer Brown. I need you to strip search this young lady.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And she's like, but I don't want to be. He's like, do this or go to jail. And she's like, okay, strip search me.
That is this whole movie, by the way, or it's like 85% of this movie is this phone call with this guy pretending to be a cop saying like, well, sometimes, these thieves hide money up there, so look, we need her to do several jumping jacks. I am not over-exaggerating. That's something that happens in this movie.
That's not the worst thing that happens in this movie.
No, it isn't, but like, and I do love that all it takes is for like the old drunk like floor guy to come in later on and in 2 seconds to be like, hey,
I'm not doing that. You're not a cop.
Yeah, this guy's not a real cop. And so this movie is actually pretty accurate to what happened. Honestly, more so than a lot of inspired by a true story things that you see. Like,
yeah, Dave was down on the floor, like, frantically Googling, like, oh my god, you guys.
But at the same time, this is a story and has these characters in it that are so dumb that it doesn't translate to this kind of film. Like, it doesn't, like, okay, you can have a movie that's 100% a true story, and depending on how you tell it and how you show it, it doesn't mean it's going to translate well to a thriller like this.
Yeah, I feel like what you're trying to get across in a movie like this is, I wonder if this happened to me, if I'd be dumb enough to fall for this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not really the mindset you take away. You take away more like, how are there people in the universe who are this stupid?
Yeah.
And he did this apparently at 70 different fast food restaurants across 30 different states.
Uh-huh.
And so I think that what happened in this movie must not have been what happened in real life. Maybe he was better at convincing them, or like the movie wasn't properly putting across. You know, there's like all sorts of experiments, like psychological experiments, like the Prisoner's Dilemma, or like the one where they like use the power of persuasion to talk people into like shocking their teammates, shocking their classmates for not giving the right answer. So like psychologically speaking, there's facts to back up the thing that apparently happened.
Yeah.
But this movie did not put that across. It was just like watching the dumbest people on the planet do the stupidest things for an hour and a half.
And they don't act dumb until this happens. Like,
they're acting a little dumb, but I mean, just like normal people dumb.
Yeah.
Like she gets a new cell phone case, and she's like, "Oh yeah, it's pink. I've decided my thing is pink now." You know, it's
sure,
that's dumb, but it's like a sort of dumb thing that you could see yourself saying if you were that person.
And I had to keep reminding myself that this is a true story because this feels like it
feels like a Penthouse letter,
or like, I don't know, an episode of one of those shows. Like, this would be like a segment on one of those shows, like World's Dumbest or something like that. But it's presented as this straightforward thriller that a majority of it is this phone conversation. And the entire time, you're just screaming at the dumb shit that you're watching on TV. And this is why liberties are taken when you're adapting something from real life into a movie. Something that's just not making you go, oh, come on, throughout the whole thing, or rolling your eyes, or whatever.
Like laughing and saying, fucking sure, why not spank her?
Yeah, like laughing at moments where you're not supposed to laugh in this movie, because this movie is through and through a thriller. This movie is not a dark comedy or anything like that. And I don't know, like, maybe if I was trying to think in my head how they could tweak this to make it.
This movie is not, to me, a thriller, because, like, to me, a thriller thrills you. You know, this is like a dreader. Like, it's just you spend your whole movie dreading the next thing that's gonna happen, rather than being like, woohoo! I wonder if he's going to spank her next.
And then he does. Like, look, she was being really disrespectful to her boss, so you got to take her over your knee and spank her. You know,
make her call you sir, because otherwise she's gonna run roughshod all over.
Yeah, you know, I'm a cop, so really you got to do what I say. Like, fucking this movie. Now, I liked the first 10 minutes of this movie and the last 10 minutes of this movie. The first 10 minutes of the movie, I was kind of enjoying the ins and outs of this fast food joint where in real life, I believe it was a McDonald's, and the girl like sued the shit out of them and got like $2 million. One person, the caller was acquitted. One person went to jail for like 5 years.
The fiancé went to jail for 5 years. The manager went to jail for 1 year for false imprisonment, which fucking good.
No, I thought the manager also got like $1 million.
No, not the article I read.
Oh, the one Dave read. Maybe that was a different story.
I don't think she got $1 million. Maybe she did, because at the end of the movie it showed her doing like interviews and stuff.
Yeah, it showed her.
Maybe she like was able to get it doing appearances. But
and I liked that part of the movie. Like, this movie needed a wrap up thing at the end because it leaves you like not really knowing what happened to these people afterwards. It just ends. It just the only title card that comes on the screen is like, this happened at 70 other places, which is information that was already given to us in the movie. So
yeah, there's a line that like the cop that's sort of investigating in the aftermath where he's calling around to see if he can find who sold the the crank yanker, his phone cards.
Uh-huh.
And he called the guy, and he's like, "Oh, you mean the one that happened over at Wendy's?" He's like, "No, chick sandwich."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh no, the one that happened at Wendy's like 2 weeks ago." And he had the line, "You're fucking telling me this happened more than once?" They could have ended the movie on that line because it summed up the general idea of this movie.
Yeah, honestly, like, and I was like, okay, maybe if this call in this situation was condensed quite a bit, or maybe if it was about the investigation and the fallout afterwards, like all these people doing interviews and the lawsuits and everything, maybe they'd have a more captivating story here, because the last 10 minutes I actually was kind of into a little bit, especially the last scene where it's the manager giving an interview, and then and she's talking about being a victim and everything, and then they stop.
Like, not a victim like Becky, but a victim in my own right.
Sure. And then it switches to just like kind of like normal small talk between her and the interviewer just off camera. I liked that.
I like that part.
I really liked that part a lot. And
because it was like she saw the footage up on the screen where Becky was definitely naked and sitting in the room and crying and begging her to stop, and she obviously had no recollection of when this happened, and like looked at it and looked away and looked at it and looked away and decided to just stop thinking about it and start talking about fucking New Orleans.
If it was one of those movies that took a very dumb true story
like
and
really
Pain and Gain.
Yeah,
like Pain and Gain. If it was a movie that, not saying this should be a comedy necessarily, but like if it was something,
should have had Mark Wahlberg in,
or if he was the
if he was the manager.
Yeah.
I got a strip searcher.
I got a strip searcher, bro. So like, if it was a movie like that certainly has very much an edge to it, but really does kind of highlight the stupidity of the situation, something that did happen in real life, with a bit of a satirical edge. Like, you could take, because it is a wild story, it is, and something could, I think, be done here. But this movie, you're just watching it just the whole time, like, between the spanking and the jumping jacks, and it's played so serious. It's played so goddamn serious through the whole thing.
I think it was too loyal to
yes, exactly.
Because like in that, I don't know if you've ever been like a manager of people before, but like,
briefly.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I like to think that if I was in that situation, I'd be like, "Fuck you, where's your badge number?"
Most people would
be. You know, I have to assume,
At least before it gets to the naked jumping jacks.
At least before it gets to the naked... I feel like I'd get to the point where I'd take her in the back and I'd look at her purse and then they'd be like, "Okay, no strip search." And I'd be like, "Fuck you, we're going to the police station right now." But like, they were like using... Like, the way everyone was talking was not like movie dialogue, it was like actual person dialogue.
Yeah.
That must have been a stylistic choice that they made. And like, even the guy on the phone, there were scenes where it sounded like a guy making shit up on the fly,
Yeah.
Where he's like, if they take you down to the police office, they're gonna, look up your record, they're gonna decide how many hours you spend in jail. And she's like, "I don't have a police record." He's like, "You're not hearing me. They're gonna look up your police record, they're gonna look at your papers, and they're gonna decide how many hours." And it's like, how are you buying this?
They don't write these people dumb enough for me to buy that they're buying this. It feels like this is just in. It feels like it is just happening in this movie because it has to happen.
Because it has happened.
Yes, and it's just taking for granted that I'm going to buy this film just because
it's happened in real life.
It doesn't. Adapting something into a movie doesn't work like that. You still have to make some kind of plausibility. And if you're making it to where this very true story is coming across as, "Oh, bullshit," you failed! I really didn't like this movie, at all. What if the person who recommended this movie to us is the same guy who made these prank phone calls? I'm just kidding.
Okay, good, a strip searcher.
Well, that's what Patreon says. I mean,
I'm really sorry if this is like your favorite movie and you're like, "I bet Brad and Sarah will really enjoy it." This is not my kind of movie. Is an understatement. I am glad to hear that you didn't like it either.
No, I didn't.
Because I would have felt bad if it was just me and it was just like a biased opinion of like, I don't like being stressed out for an hour and a half at dumb people making dumb decisions that are ruining their lives.
You can see way better movies like this that are about a very tense hostage type situation here. Whether it's, again, like I said at the beginning of it, whether it's something like Detroit or or the Jack Ketchum's The Girl Next Door, again, to the movies I mentioned earlier. Like, there are just better made, more intense, and less unintentionally laughable movies like this. So this movie is on Hulu now. Last night we reviewed the Cloverfield Paradox, where I said, like, hey, look, I'm not that mad at this movie. Sure, if I saw it in the theater, I maybe would be more upset, but watching it at home, sure, whatever. It had flaws, but whatever. No, this one's free too, and I don't recommend watching this movie for free.
I don't know, because it's only like an hour and a half. And it is...
I hated sitting through this.
Just maybe, like, Google it and read the Wikipedia article. Because that's about what you get out of the movie.
And honestly, reading an article, or even maybe watching some news footage that maybe documented this event, like, after it happened.
I feel like I saw the security footage... at least, the abridged version is like attached to some of the articles where you can like see that this actually happened to this woman.
And that's how I kind of remember this happening a little bit, because I'm having a memory of that in my head. Whatever, if you read the articles on this, because it's a pretty harrowing story, whatever movie or whatever you're picturing in your head as you're reading the story on this movie, or on the story that this is based on, is going to be better than this movie you're watching on it. It's going to be more suspenseful than this movie. So really, just read...
suspenseful, because you knew all the stuff that was about to happen. It was just like, oh god, they're going to do this now, aren't they? Yeah, they did.
Would you just classify this as a drama then?
No, I feel like Dreader is it's pretty apt
No,
description.
it is. Yeah. No, it certainly is. It's a dreadful fucking movie.
But yeah, like drama, I guess. It's dramatic. It's sort of
a crime drama. I don't know. It's bad. I didn't like the acting is good. The direction in some parts is fine. Other parts, it's like, okay, let's throw in the stock still shot of I don't know, the fries in the fryer and
the double meat.
Yeah, it's like when you're watching comedians in cars getting coffee and they're sitting there having a conversation, and every now and then it just cuts to like the coffee filter pouring a cup of coffee into some cups.
Oh right, coffee. That's the other aspect of the show.
The movie did make me want a chicken sandwich.
I know. I was thinking that exact same thing. It's like, God damn, what Chick-fil-A?
Yeah, it takes place in. I was trying to look and like, okay, what fast food joint are they filming this in? The fake name they're giving it is Chickwich.
I think it might have been a McDonald's, because like at least from the outside it had the sort of like red roof with the corrugated steel or whatever it's called. But from the inside, maybe it looked like an Arby's.
Yeah, the inside it looked like it could have been an Arby's or maybe even like a Taco Bell somewhere. Like,
it had like the slidey things, because I was playing detective.
I was trying to
worrying
too.
about this woman. It had like the slidey things for the sandwiches. So whatever it is, it's a sandwich-based economy food-wise. That's why I was thinking Arby's.
The movie.
I'm thinking Arby's.
I'm thinking Arby's. I'm not, you damn sexual assaulty movie. This is the worst Arby's commercial.
I have an Arby's chicken cordon bleu sandwich.
Damn it.
This shit is delicious.
I miss some fucked up Super Bowl commercials. So like, Yeah, like it made me want, like, oh man, I really want some Church's chicken. I want some Raising Cane's chicken fingers. I want some Church's chicken. I want all of that shit. Man, I just really want a chicken sandwich right now.
Chicken cordon bleu sandwich from Arby's, curly fries from Arby's, jalapeno poppers from Arby's, and a Jamocha shake from Arby's.
Yeah.
I'm thinking Arby's, you guys.
That's my lunch tomorrow. Any final thoughts about this?
Man, I don't know. Thanks, I guess, for requesting me for a Patreon movie.
We're the next
wish I
one,
had better
too.
news in terms of my reaction to it. I do like seeing the Don't Trust the Bee girl acting.
She was really good.
And like I said, it was nice to put together a mystery that's apparently been sitting in the back of my brain since 2012.
Oh, him promoting the movie.
Yeah, promoting the shit out of a movie that I never planned on seeing, and then I ended up seeing it.
Oh, yeah. I think we're the next Patreon request, too.
I saw someone on my Twitter be like, "Hey, Brad, did you get my request?"
Oh, yeah, that was for, and it would be a while before we would get to it. It was for, look, and I know what this is. Look into it and see whether or not you want to watch it or not, because I'll understand if the answer is no. I'll tell you about it off camera, but...
Okay, if it's Sallow, I'm gonna say no.
You're close. You're kind of close.
Fantastic.
It's, I think the next one got is some, like, direct-to-video, like, YA movie, I think, and then Original Sin with Angelina Jolie and Antonio Banderas. That sexy movie that they did.
I didn't know they did a sexy
movie.
movie.
They did.
I'm excited.
They did a sexy movie.
Get to the YA one so I can get to the sexy
one. Exactly. All right, everyone. Thanks for watching.
Bye.
Thanks a bunch, Jeffrey, for the request.
If a cop calls you, check his badge number.
Yeah.